Um, Good afternoon or good morning. It depends when you woke up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to this magnificent event. Usually I come here as a visitor, as a tech freak that likes to know what's going in the front edge of technology in all fields. So I'm happy to be here today with one of the most promising, thrilling technologies in the world in the past 2 years, in the next few years. We call it mobility, and it contains many things, but in general it's the way the world is going to change, the way we're going to move from one place to another, if it's in public transportation or our cars, our smart cars. I first want to introduce the people here on stage. Mr. Gil Golan, he's a country manager and director, GM Advanced Technologies Center in Israel, director, Corporation Venture Capital, General Motors, Gil Golan, and we have Christoph Schluder? I'll do it with an accent even. Schluder is good. For the last 2.5 years, he's on and off in Israel, so he knows the country, he knows the word balagan, right? He gave a smile. He is a manager at MHP, who is a Porsche group. And we have Keren Fanan, global head of growth at Gett. And Gett is not only Gett Taxi, and you'll hear a lot about it here. And Harold Marks, head of innovation hub at Daimler Fleetboard. Welcome to Israel, welcome here. 10 years ago, I got a call from a PR company. They wanted to take me to see a new Mercedes-Benz in Palma de Mallorca. Wow, I said, great, Mercedes-Benz, the new sports car. And I went there mainly with people who like to drive. So I went with Mr. Eli Ildis, who is a very known TV personality, and he's a driver, a crazy driver, and we saw the new Mercedes, and everybody was very thrilled to drive the car. And he got a very good partner. It was me, because I didn't want to drive. I wanted to see the technology in the car. So he was driving and gave me nausea, and I was looking at all the technology, the new technology in the car, and one thing that amazed me was you put 120 kilometers per hour, you took your leg from the brake and the gas, and the cars drive by himself. It stops, it knows where the other car is, and then it parks itself. And I said, whoa. And that was 10 years ago, and the car cost about $300,000, maybe more. It was very expensive, nobody could really buy it. And then I got a car, a Hyundai, that could park itself. Now, a few years ago, without my hands, and the car parked itself. And now, this year, I purchased a car for $40,000, Toyota. And the car is doing what the Mercedes did 10 years ago, really easy. It drives by himself, it keeps the lane, it doesn't, it tells me when there is a car in front of me. And I said again, wow, the technology is really running very, very fast. Another technology that Keren is here is Gett and the taxi. Till today, when I ordered a taxi today from Gett, when I pressed the button and after 2 minutes the taxi driver was there and took me here. And the credit card worked, I didn't have to take cash out of my pocket and everything. I said, I can't believe it's really working. There's certain kind of technologies that do this, like Waze, like. So where is mobility going, and what is going to be in 2, 3, 5 years? We know about Mobileye, and they were purchased by Intel lately, and we saw where the world is going. Google, Apple, everybody is trying to do new, innovating things, and mainly the people who are building cars, and they want to do the things. So let's start with the lady first. Keren from Gett, introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Keren Fanan and I'm leading the Ventures department at Gett. Gett is an on-demand mobility platform. We are helping people get from A to B in the quickest way possible. and we do it with a technology that helps us connect passengers and riders and drivers in real time. Now, while the majority of Gett is focused on the core business, my team is responsible on developing the next generation of Gett platforms using the same technology and the same knowledge that we have in running a real-time operations and enter new mobility segments. So we are like the startup nation within Gett, and currently we have 2 startups. One of them is Gett Delivery, our on-demand delivery platform, and the second one is Gett Together, our mass transportation solution.
Yes, and this is, Karen will speak more about the near future, the things that we're going to see in the next year or 2, and we are seeing right now with deliveries and moving mass transportation. Christoph Schlude, good now?
Very good.
From MHP. Just to tell you something, I just realized that Christoph he's a scientist. He dealt with cancer biology before cars, and he saw he cannot solve the problem with cancer so fast, so he moved to cars. So tell me about yourself and what do you do?
Yes, hello. So thanks for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Christoph Schlude. I'm a manager at MHP. MHP is a Porsche company, a subsidiary of Porsche, the car manufacturer. MHP does IT and management consulting and operates also the digital lab for Porsche in Berlin. And what Porsche, together with MHP, will do, we will establish an office here in Israel in the near future, and I'm responsible for that project. And thanks, as Danny said, just to give you that small info, I started as a cancer biologist, did my PhD in cancer research, but I worked with Porsche for nearly 5.5 years now, and I'm very happy to be here.
So maybe we'll see flying cars before we'll see a full solution for cancer, you're saying. Because this is what I want. I want not an autonomic car. I want a car that will say there is traffic, fly.
So, as discussed before, I think also on cancer we're a good way, but I think it's not the topic of the panel.
Everything is important. Mr. Harald Marx from Daimler, you just purchased an Israeli company?
Not me personally.
Not you, not from your pocket, but your company, right? Via?
We didn't purchase Via. We started a corporation. Our vendor started that.
And this is a competition to get, no? Kind of.
But actually I'm from the logistics part, so Mercedes-Benz Trucks, and I'm from Fleetboard. I'm the head of Innovation Hub in Berlin. Fleetboard has been basically a spin-off, a startup, when it was not so familiar in corporates to do such things. So we've been founded in 2000 out of an innovation unit and then have become a spin-off 2003, and since then we've grown very much with connectivity solutions, IoT solutions, way before those...
Connectivity for cars.
Connectivities for cars, especially for trucks, way before those buzzwords have been around. So we basically digitalized the logistics industry and the trucks, Mercedes-Benz Trucks.
Okay, and Mr. Gil Golan from GM.
Good afternoon, Gil. I lead the General Motors Advanced Technical Center here in Israel. I'm also part of the General Motors Corporate Venture Capital. Our story is slightly different. I was based in the US for quite some time. Back in 2008, I was sent to Israel to establish the center. Pretty much what Porsche and Daimler is doing these days here. It was back in January 2008. I was sent to 2 or 3 years as a corporate executive. Now we are in the 10th year, I'm still here, and every year they extend my stay here. In the meantime, the center became to be a few hundred people. We do have the top-notch guys, and we pick them like picking cherries. Smart guys, and we work on very, very exciting thing. The center is focused on autonomous vehicle to be more accurate, enabling technology for autonomous vehicle, connected cars and infotainment. If I would like to be a bit more specific, we developed state-of-the-art sensor technology AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud technology, cybersecurity, all that. And we try to do the impossible in a very established industry. So it's a huge opportunity for us, and we'll talk about it later.
Okay, so you're still with the microphones, so we'll start with you. We'll ask the question, what is mobility for you? Because mobility is a very big name. And mobility is going, the way we use the cars, the public transportation is going to change big time in the near future and in the far future. People are saying in 2021, there'll be already autonomic cars on the streets. I wanted to think about Israel with autonomic cars driving with regular Israeli drivers. You know, you'll have to, the brain of the smart car will have to be adjusted to the Israeli driver in order not to have accidents. So you have to take, but what is mobility for you?
Well, in our case, mobility is opportunity. It's opportunity for the country, like Israel. Mobility is opportunity for developers and technologies. Mobility is opportunity for investor and money guys. Opportunity is definitely, or mobility is opportunity for the social or huge social impact. For us as a society, what happening right now, and we don't see it because we are in the midst of evolution. This is a multiple disruption in a mega level happening at the same time. And after the tsunami, what we're going to see is completely different setup in terms of safety, in terms of environment, in terms of pollution, in terms of accident and car ownership, in terms of energy, even damages, insurance companies. Everything will be different. Cars or urban spaces will be different. Once you've got smart transportation, you don't need parking spaces inside city. You don't need traffic lights, no signals, no less lanes.
But you're talking really about the far future. When you say no traffic, no signal lights, less damage, less deaths, when? When is this near future?
Well, it's a journey. It's not a step function. It's a journey. The journey already started. There are people that refuse to see that, but the train already left the station. It's happening. It's a decade effort to get there. In the meantime, yes, we will need to develop setup that can accommodate Israeli drivers with autonomous vehicles. You're absolutely right.
Thank you, Gil. Harold, what is mobility for you and your company?
Yeah, for us it's a little bit different. Therefore, I'm very, very happy to be here and give also a new view on mobility, because for us, Fleetboard, mobility is mobility of freight. So if you look around in that room where we're here, the chair, the PC, everything that you see here was at one point in a truck being transported from A to B. And for us, mobility is mobility of freight. And if you look very much forward, then at the moment, let's say freight is not so intelligent as it could be, right? We have sensors, there's a lot of things we can do, but in the future, in the far future, the parcels and the freight can become intelligent and make their own decisions where to go. It might know that I need to be at this certain point of time in that location, and the freight could make its own decisions. Do I want to jump on the next truck?
There will be autonomic trucks also?
I
want to as less trucks as possible on the roads, so...
It's definitely possible. That's one very big thing. We have roughly 25 to 30% of the trucks on European streets running empty or half empty, or let's say almost empty. So there's huge potential to make better use of the assets, make sure that the trucks are better loaded, and then, yes, at the end of the day, you would have probably less trucks on the road and less traffic jams.
Because the way they use them will be more efficient. So you said there'll be less trucks moving with nothing inside them.
Exactly, and that's what Fleetboard is doing. We're helping our customer to have more transparency on their business and get more efficient.
So the way the technology you're using, it's not only in the trucks, it's also in all the way you are handling the packages and everything around it. It's not only the technology inside the truck.
Exactly, there are two sides. The one is the technology which is in the truck. So we have a truck data center where data is collected, and then we send it to the cloud and make solutions for dispatchers, fleet managers, like they're monitoring their fleet and their business and making educated decision on which truck should go where should I put the freight, and so on. So it's a huge ecosystem that you don't see from outside perspective. But if you're in the logistics industry, there's a lot of potential for digitization, for changes, and there's a lot of change happening there. We see a lot of startups focusing on that area, a lot of startups approaching us to talk to us and get connected to us, because at the end of the day, Mercedes-Benz Trucks is the major player or one of the biggest players globally providing trucks and having huge impact on.
Let's start in Israel, that the truck will know that it's not too high to hit a bridge. We'll start with this. That you know it
Absolutely.
cannot cross because the bridge is too low.
Mostly the issue is not the truck that he doesn't know it. Mostly it's the guy behind the steering wheel or the guy who's obeying a little bit too much
We
the
had 3
navigation
accidents
system.
like this in Israel in the past 2 weeks. One of them ended really bad when the driver died. So
Okay.
first with the trucks, that came out of my mind. Christoph, MHP, Porsche.
Yes.
What will happen? I'll go into my Porsche. I want to drive the Porsche. I want to enjoy. You know, people today, when I'm saying there'll be autonomic cars, people who like to drive say that taking the fun away with autonomic cars. It will be everything will be automatic. I would like to drive a Porsche, even not automatic, and now it will be all autonomic.
Yes, so I would say on a higher level, mobility will get much less vehicle-centric and much more customer-centric, right? It's not about selling a car anymore to one individual. It's about crafting the journey of this person from whatever he wants to do, which can be multimodal in the future in a seamless way. Yeah? That is I think the challenge all OEMs have. People don't want to get from A to B. In many cases, they want not only to get with one car to A to B, but it's I think the key for all OEMs is to integrate, and the goal is to integrate seamlessly into this mobility chain. That could be, for example, a rental car. It could be a hailing provider. Could be a Porsche, of course, right? But we see in the future many cities maybe restrict due to congestion, traffic jams, and emission, maybe the entering of cars into a city. So
How far away are you from the day that you think this will happen in your company? You're working on smart cars, on mobility.
So, of course, I can't speak for Porsche itself. I'm with MHP, but what we do at MHP, we work we have a lot of customers in the automotive industry, over 250 customers. We do also a lot of research in this field. And what we think is that autonomous driving, for example, it will come in waves. Together with battery electric vehicles, cities that have a need for action because they have high pollution, they have traffic jams. I would say Beijing or also Stuttgart, where I come from, we have problems there, need for action. And there I think will be the first cities where smart shuttles, electric shuttles, autonomous shuttles will develop. But this is nothing that we will see in 5 years, maybe in 10 years from now, maybe 12.
People will still buy cars?
I think for Porsche it's a different story a little bit than for the mass producers, right? Of course, we also see the sharing economy at Porsche. We have Porsche Drive, for example, as a great service, and we will expand that. So the Porsche people will expand that. But there's also this mega trend, individualism, right? And in the premium sector at Porsche, I think many customers still would like, as you said, you're one of them, right? They would like to have a Porsche and drive a Porsche. And we see this maybe also in the future.
You said before, you told me before when we spoke about they can choose. They can drive with shifts or automatic, and then there is traffic or something, and then they'll put the autonomic car and go to sleep. And they can choose whatever they want to do.
Of course, this is the vision every OEM has, right? We are developing these different levels of autonomy. And at one point, even in a Porsche, if you have jet lag, if you just landed in Tel Aviv, and you're a Porsche customer, of course Porsche wants to give you a Porsche experience all the way, right? Then maybe it is also an autonomous vehicle where you can lay back and sleep and
It will still be fast.
I think for Porsche it still will be premium and dynamic. That is the key things. And it's I think what we will see in the next years is that there is a lot of more cooperation with all these different players to get this seamless mobility chain working, because that's not only car manufacturers, that's also air transport and many other mobility providers, and a very growing field will also be added values in the car. So this is even beyond the mobility providers. So there are many trends that we see there.
Thank you. And Karen, we said before that you come from a different, I mean, you see more the near future and things you're doing now at Gett. So what is mobility for you and your company?
Okay, so mobility for us is using a technology to help people get what they want or to where they want with minimum effort. And mobility on demand is not only getting what you want, but getting what you want immediately, within just minutes. And this is why we believe that there is a perfect match between mobility and on-demand platforms. And you are right, I mean, although the future of mobility and autonomous vehicles looks promising, there is so much innovation that already happens today, right? Today, tomorrow, even yesterday. So Gett is a company that loves to disrupt new market. We always question the status quo and think, what is the next thing that we can improve and utilize? So we identified that the mass transportation, as is today, is vastly inefficient. And we developed a new product called Gett Together, aiming to reinvent mass transportation as it exists today. Because we believe that if people will have the ability to travel along predefined routes that are based on real data, with the ability to book their car on demand, reserve a seat in the car, see the driver on the way, and have the same control, transparency, and flexibility that they have with their private transportation, then people will choose to leave their car at home. And eventually, if more people will share less cars, we will have less cars on the road, we will see less traffic, we will need less parking spaces, and ideally, we will even reduce the carbon footprint. And that's the kind of things that we are trying to do now, and we will see the impact within just a few months, not a few years.
Few months.
A few months.
So there will be less traffic in Tel Aviv in a few months.
Again, it's a journey, but the technology is already here, and we see people adopting it and loving it. So we really believe that it is going to change the way we move ourselves from one place to the other.
Great. I look forward to this kind of, I'm told you, I'm still amazed when I do the Gett Taxi. In Holland, they use the Uber more than Gett Taxi. They're very strong there. And I told you before that you come there, you order the service, the Dutch driver, he calls you, he knows your name, he waits for you in a certain, he can communicate with you. And this is new, but we are using it on a daily basis, and nobody knows that it went so quick, and the technology is here. So what are the technology achievements? What are the problems? What are the barriers when you go to autonomous cars and mobility?
We can get to we can be very specific, but on a high level, as I mentioned before, there are a couple of disruptions going on at the same time. On one side, the whole car industry is moving from gas and diesel engine into electric vehicle or electric powertrains. On the second side, we are moving from an isolated devices, which is the vehicle of yesterday, to a completely connected to the cloud and managed remotely. And this opens up a lot of opportunities. This is a second revolution. The third revolution is actually taking the human driver out of the vehicle and replacing that with
Is it possible to make the car smarter than the human brain?
Well, this is one of the challenges. So there are many disciplines and fields that are trying to mimic the human brain. Definitely, autonomous car will need to match, at least to match, a human driver capability to negotiate in traffic, to make a decision on the spot, real time. It's very challenging. This is why we have got very large AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning group. This is exactly that. Today, there are
And
more
there is
technologies.
there is a difference in technologies between the companies, like what you do and what Mobileye do, or other companies that
Well,
here
I believe we are all using similar technologies which evolved last year, the last couple of years, mostly things like deep neural networks and sophisticated methods right now that we can apply. And now the challenge, it's still an enormous challenge, but it's seated within a reach. We believe that with a meticulous engineering job, in few years, we can get closer and closer to performance of a human brain. And this is one of the challenges, exciting for us. We do inspiring work in exciting times. So this is why we see more and more people coming into...
What worries me that when there'll be a world when all the cars will be autonomic, so okay, I understand it's a brain. I see, and I don't understand so much in this field, but when there'll be autonomic cars together with regular cars in this stage, how is it going to work together?
So the challenge, you're absolutely right. There is the transition between the current setup to a fully autonomous setup will be challenging. When you have got a mix of robots and humans, this is something that you need to educate the robots to adapt to humans. It's a bit more challenging. However, as we said before, this is kind of journey. Karen said it's a journey, it's absolutely a journey. That city and municipalities at the beginning will block part of the city and allow only robots to move there. So it's going to be kind of an iteration, and the public will be adjusted to the new robots moving people and logistics and packages around. It's an exciting future.
Okay.
Perhaps to add on that, to bring another perspective to the interaction between autonomous cars, trucks, and non-autonomous trucks. In the truck industry, we have the concept of platooning. Platooning means that 2 or 3 trucks get connected to each other and drive very close to each other. So you are able to get some fuel savings, up to 7% for the car.
Because they drive one next to each other?
Because they drive very close to each other, like in the Tour de France, where you have the bicyclists driving very close, so that the second one is in the windshield of the first one, right? So you can go very close. You can also put 3 trucks together, and with that you save also, let's say, space on the highway. So less space on the highway. And what happens if a passenger car would move between those 2 cars? The sensors would say, attention, there's something coming inside to the platoon, and the platoon gets disconnected again. And then when the car passed, it connects again. And we showed that, or our Mercedes-Benz.
And in your company, you are working on all these developments, in all these new technologies, the algorithms.
Exactly. Our Mercedes-Benz trucks are working especially on that technology. We've shown that on a German highway, having 3 autonomous platooning trucks going together, and Fleetboard is doing the business models because, how do you share the amount that is being saved between the 1, 2, 3 trucks, and perhaps even over different companies? So we are focusing on the digital aspects of that future.
Good. Christoph.
Yeah, I totally agree. So on the technology side, I think to speak for all OEMs, we see a lot of technology already there in the right way, right? We have LiDAR, we have different sensors, we have radar, we have so many different elements.
And in not so expensive cars. Like I said in the beginning, once it was in very, very high-end cars. Now it's in, you can get a cheap car with a lot of technology in it.
So many OEMs already published more or less when they think we will have fully autonomous vehicles. So that will definitely gonna happen. I think what the challenge at the moment still is to get this sensor fusion, right? You have inputs from very different sensors. Every sensor for itself calculates, is there a obstacle, is there a human nearby? But in the end, to get a fully autonomous vehicle, you need to combine all these sensors, fuse them together, and make, as Gil said, a distinct decision, go or no go, left or right. And that is one thing I think in the next years needs to develop.
And where are you in the stage?
I think everybody is maybe, or the OEMs are in different stages. We see that on closed tracks, it already works really well, right? And as you also described before, the challenge is to make it work with human interaction, right? Of course, there's also car-to-car communication, which helps a lot in that regard. Even if a human car is communicating with a robot car, and you see a different behavior, you can react on that. But still, it all comes down to algorithms and good software to calculate that. And I think most of the OEMs just want to wait that it's really secure, because security is a big issue here, and don't want to go on road with a beta version. And I think that is the main goal is to get to lower accidents, right? That's what we talked about before, to reduce the car accidents.
To reduce the car accidents and the deaths. And if all the autonomous cars will be on the street, will decrease the deaths and accidents through this. And while you're speaking, I was thinking about Waze, and how if with this panel was here 15 or 10 years ago and would say that we'll have something in our hand that will tell us where to go the shortest way, and will communicate through the way, would say, what? Is it possible? And just to tell you, I was the first one to use GPS, and people said, I ended up asking a taxi driver how to get to the destination because it works so well, but today everybody's using Waze, like everybody's using the smartphone. So, Karen, any technology advantage, things you see, like things that are that will cause you not to go where you want, or problems on the way?
Yeah, so first of all, in sense of the autonomous vehicles, I actually personally believe that the first transportation solutions to be transformed to autonomous vehicles perhaps will be this mass transportation solution along predefined routes, because by design they are more predictable and easier to be replaced with autonomous vehicles. But I think that we talk a lot about transportation, but in my mind, mobility is more than just transportation, right? So our role in the future of mobility is using the same platform that we have today, the same technology that allows us to connect supply and demand, along with the knowledge of managing a real-time operation. And by real-time operation, I mean making sure that we have enough drivers out there available in our app every hour, every day, in every city, in every country that we operate. And I'm talking about more than 100 cities, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's real-time operations. So we are taking the same technology and platforms and trying to reinvent new markets. Our solution, Get Delivery, is really reinventing the way we get things and move things, right? So we run a marketplace of couriers. We have couriers using taxis, using cars, motorbikes, bicycles, and even pedestrian couriers doing deliveries by foot, all connected to our platform. And we want to offer a new standard of delivery, right? So you want something, you can get it on demand within 1 hour or at the same day. We don't talk about next day, we don't talk about next week. On demand is only about getting what you want immediately, now, with one click of a button. So that's what we are doing. We are trying to leverage the technology that we have and keep on optimizing it to make sure that we constantly bring innovation to the mobility world.
Okay, I want to, the last question will be about connection to Israel and why Israel has to be the experimental place for all the new technologies in this field. But before, sure, I know it's a very delicate question, but I have to ask you about regulations, because technology and dreams and autonomous cars, but then you come to countries and there are regulations, and you have to teach the government and the municipalities to get the new technologies in, and then you get into all kinds of regulations about signs, about insurance, about everything. How do you think the world is going to deal with it? maybe one answer, or who wants to answer about it?
So maybe a short one, and maybe Gil,
Yes,
you can
yeah.
expand that. So I'm no expert in that, but I think it's the same with what we talked before with the chain of mobility. At the moment, regulation is targeting taxis, for example, in Germany, taxi regulation, you have car regulation, you have aircraft regulation. In the future, we will see much more mobility providers and added services, and the regulators also have to change their view towards this chain of mobility, because therefore we need regulation. If you buy, for example, an opera ticket, and this opera ticket already includes that an autonomous vehicle picks you up, brings you to the opera, tells you about the actors and background on the
Here
way.
it's not opera, it's Eyal Golan show.
Sorry?
It's not opera, it's the show of Eyal Golan.
Okay, sure. To this great event, anyway, it still needs to be regulated in that way, right? You can't then regulate each module. So that is, I think, the biggest challenge in regulation, and to make a regulation more supportive of the development that is coming to happen.
Perhaps just to add on that, what we see at the moment is that, especially with the data-driven business models and the data-driven technology that we have, we're pushing very much forward, and the legislation and regulations need to come up with that, right? Data
They have to
protection is a
adjust to
huge-
the technology.
adjust to the technology. That's the way how it's normal. You know, technology jumps ahead, and then we need to find a way how to make it also legally, fine, and come up with the regulation updates.
Okay, so the last question will be about Israel as a startup nation, but all the companies want to be here, want to make Israel as an experimental field. Why? Why Israel, and why it should be Israel? Why should Israel play a main role in this technology?
Maybe yes. Okay. I think we don't need to talk a lot about military 8200 and all the special units. So I think the Israeli story everybody knows. So Porsche, for example, works quite a while with the great startups that came out of this system, right? We see great technology startups, we see sensor technology and difference. And that's why Porsche decided together with MHP to open up this office. So we work already with these startups, but we want to foster this cooperation, the projects that work, that already at the moment established. And so I think we see very good perspective for Israel, and I think it's a great country to make R&D in the future.
Gil?
From our perspective, first, Israel represents the ability to move fast, to take risk. We've got the right skill set and talent here.
But the regulation is not so easy.
Well, I would like to get credit, to give credit to the government here. We always bashing the government and on everything. Sometimes it's right, sometimes wrong. But without to be too politically here, we have a good partner here. And I think the government, generally speaking, like other government in the world, understand the potential of, there was a study done by one of the research organizations that there was the estimation of the new mobility on the US economy is $1.3 trillion a year. $1 trillion. Now, put it on a global perspective, put it as a decade, and see that there's a huge opportunity to any country. So regulation and government must move fast. I'll tell you a story. Israel already into discussion to be the first country to announce ability to put autonomous vehicle without drivers. So
You have here fields to do tests. You take roads,
we
you
are
close
not there,
roads.
We are not there yet, but there's a government intention to build proving ground, to allow legislation to help us develop this technology here. So Israel can be a test bed for that, which is very important. If you take risk, if the government is willing to take risk, it brings more and more companies like Daimler or like Porsche or like General Motors to do more development here. It brings cutting-edge technology to Israel. It implies the skill set and capabilities that the country has and can take the economy to a different scale. We are talking about massive, massive economic opportunities.
Somebody else wants to say something about
That's
Israel?
basically also why Mercedes-Benz has set up a tech center, an R&D center here, because there's a lot of creativity here. There's a lot of technology expertise in various fields. And therefore, we're also looking into collaboration with Israeli startups. And we have our passenger cars colleagues have set up a tech center here, and Fleetboard is also looking into being present here and bringing the logistics area and focus also into the focus of the tech center here.
When we're going to see an autonomous car in the street here in Israel doing tests? Is it soon or?
Well, you can come next week and see us training our cars. We definitely building cars and we are
So
testing
you're
them.
training them here somewhere?
Yes, here. Actually, the Minister of Transportation gave us a new road that's not open to public yet. We pay for that, of course, and we test our initial autonomous
And
vehicle
it's
here.
really there? You tell it to go from this part to this part and it takes you without doing anything, or it's knit all the way?
No, it's still in a early development stage, so it's not, we're not touching public roads. Still there's a driver behind the wheel, but we are moving fast from baby step to get maturity very quickly.
So I'll still have today to take a taxi from Get to get home, where I won't use your
You can
car.
get a Get taxi to the proving ground to see how the autonomous vehicle.
Okay, so I'll use your services, Karen, today.
And then if you give me your private address, I'll make sure that the first Mercedes-Benz autonomous car who's here drops by your place.
שווה לבוא.
Of course. It's the place to be.
Okay, I think anything you want to add before we finish it up? We have questions, or there is no questions?
No, are you ready to the big game?
What is the big
You
game?
should stay here. There
There's
is a big game now taking
There are prizes,
stage.
Mercedes-Benz,
Yes, of
Porsche,
course,
GM
the
cars,
biggest
what I
game
get
ever.
taxi. Oh, no, okay.
Disruptive technology led
Wow.
by Playbuzz on
Playbuzz.
stage here.
Okay, so let's
Big
hope in a
game.
few
Let's
years
stay for
we'll
the
see cars on the street driving by themselves, less accidents, less traffic, and a good future. It looks great. Thank you for coming here. I told you get a free weather forecast because this is what I do in the evening. You don't have to watch TV. For the people who are staying here, it's going to be less warm Wednesday, tomorrow and Friday. But if you are staying for the weekend, it's going to be extremely warm next week. So summer is here with the car. There's air conditioning in the car, so it's fine.
See, this is with his DNA. I mean, forecasting.
That's
as
why I
told
came.
you,
But that's why I came here. Mobility is not the real interest. Thank you very much, and thank you for.
Thank you,
being
Danny.
here.
Thank you very much. It was a great panel. Thank you.